So, greetings and welcome, and thank you for our leaders and coordinators for facilitating this meeting. Siyabulela kakhulu. My name is Sakhiwo Rala, and I am tasked with the responsibility of sharing some thoughts today by the leadership of the church. So I will share some thoughts with us, and hopefully it will be worth your while, and then we'll have some time to ask questions. So the theme for today is, you don't have to, but before you say, will you marry me, or I do. And I think the theme really shares our heart and conviction about marriage. In that, sometimes we find ourselves in places where we have not thought we would be, and we end up in those places because our response was to pressure and not necessarily something that we have designed and wanted for ourselves. So having said that, we are mainly talking today to single people about singleness. When we talk about marriage, it's not necessarily that we are promoting marriage. So let me tell you my position as a person. I'm a promoter of marriage, but I'm also a promoter of singleness. So in my view, there's nothing wrong with being single. Being married is not a better option. Being married is not the next level. As a result, for me, marriage is not a function of age. I'll talk about the Bible, and that's where I'm going. So you don't get married because you are getting old. No, marriage is a function of purpose. You marry because where you are going requires you to be married. You don't marry because of pressure, be it societal pressure, be it biological pressure. For example, marriage cannot cure lust. If you need, help with lust, marriage is not the solution. You have to find something else. It's called self-control. It's a character. Does that make sense? So we will talk about being single, we'll talk about being married, but my whole point today is reclaim your singleness, because you will need it when you are married. So, reclaim your singleness, that's the sub thing. Reclaim your singleness. Who is a single person? Who is an unmarried person? An unmarried person is a person that has never married. An unmarried person is a person that has married but they are widowed. An unmarried person is a person that has married but they are divorced. Now, divorce is not a life sentence. I'm building my case towards singleness. Divorce is not a life sentence. Divorce is not an unpardonable sin. If you are divorced, it doesn't mean that you are ruined in life. So if you are a person that has never married, you are a person that is widowed, you are a person that is divorced, I have the same message for you, and that is reclaim your singleness. It's very important. It's very, very important. Let's look at scripture quickly. Matthew chapter 19, from verse 1. Now when Jesus had finished these sayings, he went away from Galilee and entered the region of Judea beyond the Jordan. And large crowds followed him, and he healed them there. And Pharisees came up to him and tested him by asking, "Is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any cause?" He answered, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, 'Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.' So they are no longer two but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate." We will get our message from there. Now, these guys are talking to Jesus, and the whole setting, they were trying to trick him. Can we have 2 chairs? Can I have the cable ties? No, it's fine. Just bring the cable ties to Zuxans and Patel. No, Zuxan will bring. It's fine. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'm going to use this for an illustration. So here is Jesus. He's being tricked. These guys, they want Jesus to oppose Moses. So they ask him, so we can put back to back now, if that's possible. Yeah, will that work? Not really. Next to each other. It's fine. We'll use them later. So they are tricking Jesus. They are asking him, is it lawful to divorce? They actually want Jesus to oppose Moses because the Bible pronounces on divorce. And as the Bible pronounces on divorce, one of the scriptures in Malachi, it says God hates divorce. And then when it continues, it talks about how God abhors violence. Same verse. It talks about God hating divorce and God hating violence. And then Moses says it's not lawful to divorce except in a case of adultery. But there are other scriptures in Deuteronomy that talk about divorce, and that's not the talk for today. We'll have a session for people that are divorced that want to understand it from scriptures. But the amazing thing is Jesus' response. Because the question is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any reason? Now again, there's a reason they are using that term, for any reason. Because there were different school of thought of divorce. There's one school of thought that said it had to be adultery. Others, they say for anything, even if, they ban food, even if, whatever, you can divorce her for anything. That makes sense? So Jesus responds and say, have you not read that in the beginning he made them male and female? Remember the question was, is it lawful? The answer is yes or no. But Jesus, being Jesus, never says yes or no. He says, the problem is not divorce. The problem is male and female. The problem is the male that does not understand what it means to be a male, and the female that does not understand what it means to be. The problem is singleness. It's not divorce. Have you not read that from the beginning when he created them male and female? Remember in Genesis chapter 2, he created Adam. Before he gave Adam a woman, he gave Adam work. So Adam had work. And when Adam worked, God said, it is not good for a man to be alone. Now people said, it says it's not good for a man to be alone, therefore I must be married. That's not the context. The context is this. When God created, he created many animals of all types. But in the human race, he created one man, Adam. Adam was the only one of his species amongst many animals. So he was alone as a human being. He had no companionship as a person. Not that he needed a wife. He needed companionship, somebody to talk to. So it's not good for a man to be alone because he's the only man. Now God says, I will make him a suitable helper. When God created Eve, he presented Eve as a person to Adam. Adam saw Eve as a wife. God did not present a wife. God presented a person. That is why whenever a person says to you, God said to me, be careful. God said to me, be my wife. Thank you. What are you saying? Why? Because God presents a woman. A man sees a wife. It is Adam that declared Eve wife. God presented woman. Because especially Tinabazalwan, especially a timing, you don't want to be against the will of God. It is the God said. How can you be against God? So, when a person says God said, you say thank you. So here is it. God presents a woman. This is very interesting. Adam becomes a poet. We're going to talk, I'm just building a case to this thing. Adam becomes a poet. He says, bone of my bones. In other words, Adam is taking responsibility for the formation of this woman. What does the modern man says? In other words, the man is saying, a chicken has to die for you to be formed as a woman. Adam says, I have to die. You are bone of my bones. Do you see the levels of responsibility there? Between itambo lekentake and itambo lamatambo. There's a big difference. Who dies in the equation? Again, we'll come back to these things. But listen to this. Remember what was the question? The question is it lawful to divorce? Listen to the statement. If you're taking notes, please write this one down. It will carry you for a long, long time. It is better to wish, or let me put it differently. The worst thing than wishing that you were married is wishing that you were not married. Can I say it again? The worst thing than wishing that you were married. Everyone was like, I wish I was married. Don't you feel bad, but you are not married. Ne? The worst thing than wishing you were married is wishing you were not married. You are already married, but you wish you were not married. But because you are in, you can't just jump out. So, the worst thing than wishing you were married is wishing you were not married. So if you wish you were married, it's okay. That you can handle. That's okay. Now, I have these chairs here. I would have put people here, but I'm scared of being accused of, matchmaking. So, look at these chairs. Marriage is a permanent bond. Remember, we're talking about singleness. But for me to amplify these thoughts, I want to show us using the opposite of this thing. Marriage is a permanent bond, supervised by God, between two people, male and female. Now, let's talk about a bond, because the key word there is bond. How are bonds created? Bonds are first created by conversation, because marriage is a covenant, marriage is promise given by one to another. So be careful who you expose yourself to in communication. Have you noticed that there are people in your conversations, as you open yourself up in conversation, you begin to create a bond between you and that person. There's no declarations made, but there's a bond created. So the first bond, it's called an emotional bond. It's created through conversation. This is what we refer to as intimacy. So that's why married people, those married people that are here, that's why married people can cheat emotionally and be faithful physically. In other words, I have this person that fulfills me emotionally because so I look forward to going to work because this person talks to me. In other words, they meet my emotional needs. So when you create that bond, you deep secrets. Because listen to this. If I say Kulindelwa hi, what he hi back, that's a bond. But it's a shallow bond, it's a weak bond. If I say how are you and she says I'm fine, how are you? It's a bond, still shallow, but it's thicker than high. If I ask her, do you have children? And she says yes. And I ask how are they, it's getting deeper. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. No, I'm not saying it's bad. But I'm saying a bond is created because when we meet again, we have a point of reference. That makes sense? Now, the deeper the conversation, the deeper the bond. That's my point. So, hi, there's a connection already, but it's very weak, it can be destroyed anytime. So I'm saying be mindful of your conversations because they are bonds. So they are like cable ties. So the first bond is emotional. Can somebody help me here quickly? Okay, Manish. Now look at this. Thank you, Remy. Now, we are bonded together, but there's no commitment. I make sure that I call every evening between 8 and 9, but I'm not saying anything. I'm just calling. As I call, expectations are created. Why? Because communication. Do you know what the Bible refers to physical connection, sex? Do you know what it talks about, what the Bible says? It says, and so knew so and so. It's knowing. It's communication. So, this is one form of that communication. But we talk, we hug. But really, God is my witness. There's nothing. There's nothing. Don't look at me like that. There's nothing. There's nothing. But there's a bond. Now, I'm not saying the bond is wrong. I'm not saying the bond is right. I'm saying there's a bond. That makes sense. Now, if I take it further and we sleep, it becomes physical bond. Now, I'm bonded to this person. Remember, I'm not married yet. Now, this is true whether I'm married or not, but I'm talking in context of a single. Now, I'm living my life everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. That's why it's important for us to understand that anyone you have slept with, you carry them with you. You can never forget them permanently. It's impossible. Why? Because you have bonded yourself with the strongest form of bond. I will talk about how do you solve that. But I'm just trying to give you the truth. Remember, I said I want to help you to reclaim your singleness. Whether you want to be married or not, it's immaterial. I want you to reclaim your singleness. Because your power as a person is in singleness. Most of the identity crisis is people that lost their singleness. Now listen to this. So, why does God therefore hate divorce? Because of what it does to us. Because now, remember, there's no judge that can divorce people. What God has put together, no man can put asunder. There is no lawyer that can separate people. Even yourself, you can't divorce yourself from a person. You can sign a paper, but you cannot divorce yourself in a person. Because divorce is violence. You see, I'm trying not to put these things too tight. But let's do it. Now, who are the married men in the house? Mr. V, I need your help here. Because I want others to watch this illustration. I know I'm moving very slow, but if there's something I want to show us, it's very important that we see it. Now, look at this cable tie. We are tied together. Now, I want you to attempt to separate these two. You can use anything. As long as I keep in a pants. Okay. The reason I bought it tight is because unfortunately there was a coup. That is how divorce is. Divorce is that. You have to turn yourselves upside down just to be free from, thank you guys, just to be free from each other. And now here is the painful thing. It is violent. It is violent. It scars you. It rips you apart. So when God says he hates divorce and then he connects it to violence, is because that is a violent thing, not only to you and your partner, but it is violent even to the kids if there are kids in the picture. It hurts people. It rips your heart apart. You see, the only time married people are supposed to be separated is when they die. Now, death is a very painful thing. Death leads you to grief. When one you were married to dies, something is lost in you. Ne? Divorce is worse than that in that this person now, remember it's permissible in the Bible, but this person you are separated to is buried but is alive. You might meet them at the shopping center. It's one thing if they died, you'll never see them again. If you see them in heaven, they are not your husband in heaven. There's no marriage in heaven. But on earth, you meet them. Something moves in your heart. It shall not be well with you. Do you hear what I'm saying? What it does is that it does something to you because this person is not dead. Remember the journey of life. We walk the journey of life with our hearts. Bazalwane, where the Bible says, put aside every weight that easily besets you, it talks about weights in the heart. When your heart is heavy, you can't move in life. You know, the things that slow us down and bring us to a halt are heart issues. So if your heart is encumbered, you can't move in life. You are slowed down in life. Some people resign, but decide, you know what, I'm done. I'm done trying because their heart is encumbered. So the reason God says he hates divorce is saying, I hate divorce because this thing will rip your heart apart. And this thing will slow you down in life. Because of this thing, you will rob your generation. You will not become what you were meant to become. I sent you on earth for a purpose to be a blessing to a generation. So that's why God hates divorce, because of what it does to you. That makes sense? Amen. Now listen to this. There is no cure for the heart on earth. There's nothing. Therapy does not cure the heart. There is no cure. There's only one thing that the Bible says can heal your heart, is Jesus. You know, the Bible is clear about that. You know, that he is the one that can heal our heart. Which is, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, he has anointed me, and then he lists the reasons why, and he says, to heal the broken-hearted. It's Jesus that can heal a broken heart. So we are fortunate here because now we can be restored. So if you have made soul ties, you can break those and your heart can be restored. If you have made physical ties, one of the things I normally promote is what I call secondary virginity. Where you practice secondary, where you say, whether I get married or not, I will maintain and keep virginity until ndithetha ngomntu ke one-experience, but you say secondarily, I will keep myself chaste until a particular time. Does it make sense? So Jesus is answering a divorce question, but he's saying the problem is not divorce. The problem is singleness. The problem is, does this male person understand what it means to be a male so that they can be males in the relationship? Does this female person understand what it means to be a female so that they can be females in the relationship? Because, beloved, marriage is not a competition. I'll give you an example, and I'll give an example and then I will move forward. For example, let's say I don't understand what it means to be a male, but I feel that I'm old enough. I'm not matured enough to be married, but I'm old enough to be married. Nalongapa is old enough to be married, but not matured enough to be married. That is a recipe for disaster. Because if this person does not know their responsibility, their function, how do they function in marriage? I'll give you a simple example. It's a bad example, but I think it's going to help us. Let's say I'm married to my wife. And let's say in the equation, I'm this person that felt I'm old enough, I have enough money to be married, then I get married. But I am lost as a human being. I lack maturity. I'm not formed. I have no character. I have no sense of understanding purpose. Why am I here? And then I'm married to my wife. My wife really, let's say we have money, we are okay, we are sorted. And my wife wants to spoil me. And she's like, what can I do for you? Because she wants to spoil me. What can I do for you? And my answer is, anything. Where do you want to go? I want to spoil you. Anywhere. just do anything. Now the question is, how do you please someone who does not know what pleases them? Because this person is not matured enough to know what's good for them. And you are going to live, you have bonded your life permanently to this person. And this person, remember Mositi, for this reason, a man will leave his mother. Have you not read that one male, one female got married? Ne? Now, ukonba, nanti male ingena, imascula. Yabona Moses ante ku WhatsApp zithi umoni umzalwane. Yazibona Moses So you feel you are ready to be married, and you see a man coming in. He's got the right bumps at the right places. It's like all the bumps are in the right places. Now listen to this. It's possible that the worst demon can masquerade as the most handsome man. It's possible that the worst demon can masquerade as the most beautiful woman. Because we don't marry because of age. We don't marry because of looks. We marry because of purpose. And purpose makes you sit down to ask questions. That makes sense, beloved? It's very important. Because many people jumped in and they had a beautiful wedding. And marriage was hell on earth. But the wedding was the best thing. So I want to suggest to you, and I am scaring you away from marriage, because when you are ready, you will go anyway. But I'm saying it's wrong to be married by age or by society. Next child. No, there's no next thing. Marriage is not the next thing in the agenda. It's not the next thing. I'll show it how single. According to the Bible, I'll show how single. In fact, the word single means whole. You are complete. In other words, you need to be a person that is in agreement. Because kukho abantu abaninzi njengoba ndihamba ndimninzi. Ndime apha ngoku, ii-emotions zam zibheke north, you know, ii-thoughts zam zibheke west. Ndihleli apha nje, there's a storm brewing, ndixakekile. Ndibe ndiqonda, ndinid umntu in my life. Umsapho umntu ukuvutuza. Senjiwa kuyavutuza nje ebomini bakho. Qomba yo, hayi ndinid usetlisha. Let me tell you something. Marriage, bayeke bafaniselane. Yibona bosana nto couples dispute. Do you know that abantu bayakwazi ufaniselana bengathethi? Because all it takes kubona unxibe ntoni nami I need to right car sihambe sifaniselana. That's all it takes. So I want us to understand what this means so that we may appreciate what it means to be single. Singleness is a good thing. Most of us, we don't know. The people we envy, they envy you. Marriage is not a bad thing, but entering for the wrong reasons is a bad thing. Singleness is not a bad thing. Singleness is a good thing. So, I really want to encourage us, therefore, to reclaim our singleness. If you are a male, reclaim your maleness. Let me sum up, because this is not a marriage seminar, but I wanted to paint this picture so that the remaining time I use it on singleness. The two shall become one. So it's me and Ubuli. We are married, now we are one person. So, listen to this. If ndingumntu or half, I'm incomplete, half-baked. Remember, if ikeki inetyiwa eninzi, ingxaka yokeki, ingxaka irecipe. Ikeki ibhakiwe yona. Does that make sense? So, umtshato ombi, ayingomtshato ingxaki yi-combination ekhuphe lo mtshato. So, you must be mindful of the combination. So, ndiyi-half. Nditshate ubuli opheleleyo. Ithi iBhayibhile xa betshatile abazoba ngu-1 and a half. Ithi bazawuba ngu-1. What does that mean? I-half, xa itshate i-half, kuphuma i-half. Kuthiwa banqwaqwa kubobabini bayafanelana. Because umtshato wenza loo nto. I-half ne-half. That's why when people say, this is my better half, they are inaccurate as well. I go half emtshatweni, who whole? So whoever you marry brings you to their level. No, seriously. Whoever you marry brings you to their level. That's why you must know what you are looking for. Now let's talk about singleness. One of the tragedies, we don't have enough time, we'll probably have a follow-up session, but I just want to give the big picture. One of the tragedies of single people, it's a bad thing that single people do. It's called waiting. I'm waiting for Mrs. Right. I'm waiting for Mr. Right. That is wrong. When God created you, He created you with purpose. He created you for a reason. You need to discover your purpose more than you need to find a spouse. You need to answer the question, why am I here? More than the question, where is he or where is she? You know, abantu babe desperate that ongene apha ikhola yakhe imile, zawuyazi banguye uzawulungiswa. Yabona ifleecing ke siyafleece ke ngoku. Bathitho thetha. Athi omnye Nkosi ongene kuqala nguye. Kungena umuntu athi mba. God forbid. Back to sender. Desperation. We are never supposed to feel that we are late. You see, here is the key. Whatever you're looking for, you have to prepare for it. So instead of waiting, work on your purpose. Akho nto intle njengento esendaweni yayo. Xa unguwe, what needs you will locate you. Ingxaki is when the hunted become hunters. Abanyamile bazayenza zikhangeleke. So it's very important for us to work on our purpose. What is your calling? When you talk about calling, we don't talk about ministry. What is your purpose in life? In which field? What is your garden? In which field did God plant you? Maybe you're in the field of commerce. Maybe you're in the field of education. Maybe you called for ministry. Maybe you called in this field of entertainment and sports. You need to scale that mountain. You need to be the best you can be. Whether there is a spouse or not, you have lived. Amen. You can't wait. Because there's a tragedy. Can you imagine waiting for a person, but long to has an identity crisis? No, we have to leave, Bazalwan. We have to leave. Study further. Work hard. Trust God for promotion. Find yourself. Find God. Because God fills your heart. Because the day you get married, you will be surprised that what you were looking for is not in your partner, it has always been in you. Some, if not most of the loneliest people on earth are married people. Because they have someone in their life, but they are not showing up. What they thought would be provided by marriage has not been provided. Because marriage will not give you anything you don't have. It's very important. So I want you to reclaim your singleness. Maybe you feel that life has played you very badly. You have experiences in life. The most important thing is rediscovering yourself in God. Who am I? You know, when God called Moses, the first question Moses asked is, who am I that you send me? When God called Saul, Saul asked, who am I? Paul, who later became Paul, who am I that you send me? The day you find that question, an answer to that question, everything else become a non-issue. Even when you are married, therefore, your problems have been reduced. Singleness is a key to a fulfilled life. Because even married people need to understand singleness, because singleness means whole, complete, restored. It's very important. We have to be people that are single. We have to be people that are, that are a unit. Ungathi sawo. Yes, umbona umuntu ba uthesa. Amada zizinja ezo. Yonke akwenti right man. Umuntu uthesa. Because life has pulled you apart. But it's very important that we discover ourselves again. Sensual lanto uba wena uxole wonwabe ngawe. Do you know why? Because the next step is you will need companionship, not a spouse. If you can't make friends, chances are it's going to be difficult for you in marriage. Because your spouse, you're supposed to first have a friendship relationship with your spouse. For example, when the Bible talks to married people, it first talks about brotherly love. I must love my wife as a sister in the Lord, Joy as a friend. Because otherwise, we must have companionship first. Now, anything that comes close to you is pierced. That's the key to singleness. So that when people draw near to you, they can find friendship from you. Because before we talk lasting covenants, we have to talk friendship. Have you noticed that in most yethu, our friends ngabantu sasifunda nabo esikolweni. Like at high school. At high school we had close friendships. At high school sasiphume esikolweni sikhaphane sithi because inhliziyo zethu zazingekakhubeki kakhulu. Yabona wena inhliziyo zethu ntsakha kunzima. Umuntu udibana naye umqondi kahle agenda yakhe ithi andithethi ngomuntu osespouse ndithetha njengelady nelady ngoba andimqondi because inhliziyo iqhaqhekile. You have been stabbed many times. As a result, even a simple thing as friendship. Awunamntu yazi kukho abantu khomba masithi umzekelo ne you have graduated, you passile ne-course buyenza, but let's say we are doing your masters in something wapasa ukhona awusambawela ubanzi andithi khona concept ethi ndiyabawela ubanzi xa nigqwirha. Now that thing is a reflection of how society is. People have no people to celebrate life with. Abantu bayasifihla i-success sabo. You are in trouble if uphila njalo. You must have a person or two that can ease it home. People you can brag. Xa ubrega kubo bangafishi uba ubajongele phansi. Laa nto bahamba ifumene ntontontonto uthethe ungenawari uba bacinga ntoni. Yingxaki le ngoba endiyabawela ubrega kunzima. Uyayibona next level ke ngoku because ithi yitshomi ehole. Inetshomi ehole there are no issues. Uyayibona laa nto? By the time sithetha ngo umtshato uphaa kude because le chap uzotshata nayo okanye late uzotshata nayo nalo lidlule ezintweni. If akabanga whole nawe awubanga whole ni worse off than ngoku benitshatile. Double impact. So that's why your singleness is important. So before you propose, before you say yes to a person, you have to reclaim your singleness. Ezanto simple nje bahamba uthanda iphi drink hayi ndithanda into yabazana i-decision yini i-decision nayo nto yenhliziyo i-decision into enje yengqondo ba mina ndithanda ikoqa awuyazi senziwa wabuyisela awuvande khange wadecide wantanda ikoqa ubomi bunjalo. No, I'm serious, I'm joking, I'm joking. You have to decide, what do I like? What makes me happy? What do I enjoy? So that kwa wena xa ufuna uzivisa kamandi uzithila nto yakho. Uyayibona? Because if awuyazi ungumuntu miserable ukhale into ongayifuni, le nto uyifunayo ibe ilapha xa zange uyidefine. So we have to reclaim our singleness. What makes me happy? What brings me joy? Ezanto zithi mina shem ndizithandela nje into ethile nento ethile nento ethile. Xa ndizivisa kamandi noba i-combination ye-100 rand thatha nje 100 ndithenge into ethile nento ethile ndizibeke apha bemnandi ndindedwa. And then when other people come in uba brief hayi mna ndingumuntu simple. Mna bawufunda onwabisa undithi nje undithi undigqibile andingomntu complicated andinasaqhwithi mna ndisimple nje undithi 1 2 3 ndisoda. Uyabona ke ngoku if uzoya emtshatweni unabo ubulula unabuzazi uyakwazi uyicacisa nje no mna undithi undigqibile. So that's ingaleqa imirage into ezingekhoyo uleqa into yobalekayo. Yabona we need to be clear, we need to pursue our singleness. I want us to trust God that God will help us from lento yoleqa umtshato. That thing is a trap and dangerous. Do you know kukho abantu abatshata ngonxa beyibalile i-pension fund yakho bayizolala phi? Athi xa kubona aqonde le singa-save up. Do you know there are people abacalculator but isalary yam neyakhe ingasibeka endaweni ethile? But what you have, let me put it this way so that uyiveleni njani. There is nothing you will acquire outside of you that will make you permanently happy. Umzekelo, esasihlangu usithi ndiyasifuna zasibekela imali wayosithenga usinxibe kabini sakubonisa izinto sakutya awusasinxibi nosinxiba. Oh, let me make it even nicer. Usinxibile was enjoy, but after 3 events onento ethi wonke umuntu uyasazi ufuna esinye. Do you know that's true of a car? That's true of a house, that's true of clothing. Asoze into oyoifumana ikwenze happy permanently. The only thing that will fulfill you into ephuma kuwe. When you help a person at enkosi, that thing fulfills you. When somebody comes into your life, at I'm a better person, that thing fulfills you. So if we're not empty, you will never be happy in life. In fact, uzobayile type in a fridge egcweleyo efuna ukutya ixelele nokutya kubakho abantu ababini. Because awufuni batyela tise fridge. Ulambe uyaphela xa uxele nophaka. Ukutya kwanele wonke umuntu olapha but and awuzenzi ngabom xa uyashota. Awuyiplananga awungumntu ofani. Xa you are wired like that uyashota kukho into nje eqole baya nawukwazi tu. Abantwana babahambi. I'm not sure if you're hearing me. So, singleness is important because singleness makes you complete. Whether the quality taxi on driving motor yam, whether the hamba ngenyawo kanye flyer first class, whether ndihlala kuveza on ndihlala kwi double story house, when you are single you are content. Awubhakanga phakwani. That's what singleness is. Singleness is contentment. Single akati andifuni utshata. But singleness uthi noba nawutshata I'm not defined by that. Yes. And this will lose the impact because I'm chatang. I will not feel that I'm more of a person because I'm chatang. I can't just for the ladies because they tend to be victims more glendo. I can't njengomntu ozidefine ngoba ngumfazi kabani. Asamazi negama lakhe umfazi kadomncinci. No, strive, pursue singleness. Pursue singleness. Because it will work for you even emtshatweni. Look, even single ladies would know this. I come to umbi emtshatweni njengomntu oziluzile eqoba. You know, akase utshatile but say Lord nje ekutwayo. Because they have lost themselves in marriage. Your singleness is good for you even if uzawutshata. It's good for you phaa emtshatweni because emtshatweni kaloku funeka nawe uze nento, funeka uzocontribute. Kuyacontribute xa ufika usisaqhwithi ufika uvuthuze nalilapha. You have to come and contribute. But listen to this as I wrap up. I know that but I wanted to paint a big picture so that when we do follow-ups we can talk with the details. Point iti, don't pursue marriage, pursue purpose. Let marriage find you. God presented Eve as a woman. Adam saw a wife. You must see a husband in that person. You must see a wife in that person. But don't feel compelled. Do you know that? And this is probably my last remark because of time. The most impactful people in life are single people. You make the most impact in your life when you're single. Remember, we define single as whole. Now, let me wrap it up by saying, you are not cursed. You need to work hard. You need to find your purpose. You need to trust God. You need to build your relationship with God. You need to build human friendships. If marriage finds you, maikufumane because you are single. Maikufumane because you are a complete person. I hope I'm making sense. I know the back light, but guessing ngangena deep some other time to talk about the principle. Because one of the principles I firmly believe in is the principle of hard work. Kungcono uhlala kwi-steering wheel semoto nohlala ngaphambili emotweni yomuntu. I won't marry a man without a car and a house. Now here's a true story. My own uncle, every time he would say these words. Mcham, yambona wantu wako. Wafike bhijile. People are people. People will remind you. Whoever meets you must find you prepared. Must find you on the go. Singleness is good. Singleness is not a curse. Marriage is not the next step. Marriage is not even a goal. Because amaxesha amaninzi xa sithetha nge-marriage sithetha nge-wedding. Wedding is an event. Iwesi ke thina apha enkonzweni siyazama wethu sinazo ne-express service sithi phaa erumini endlini ugqitywe sikuprezente ezitshatile. Tshato nje we-8 rand le yokhwela nje uyofika phaa kula ndawo yakuyo. So, because marriage is not a wedding. Most people have a dream wedding. You will be surprised. You will be surprised. Some of the things that were fantasies of, we are not trying to turn off. Ube sure. Uthi xa ifika ubuze iphelele lapha. Is this it? Is this all there is? Oh, by the way, noba sekuthiwa you are cohabiting lo ohlalisana naye. Life before marriage and life after marriage are two different lives. Before marriage, everyone put their first foot. Because literally a marketing age. Okay, here is my last remark. This is the secret. Now, probably, because I must give you at least 1 or 2 nuggets. Never marry a person who has no authority over their lives. Basically, you have to check uba pendula njani abazali bakhe. Xa enothi uza kuwe. Hayi time anza kuwe. Hayi mama usengxakini. Uyakuqhwaba laa nto akugqibe emapha utatakhe. Akayiki tatakhe kuqala. So a person without authority over their lives can kill you live because they have no sense of it. Whoever you marry, there must be a person in their lives when they say no, they listen. Because wonke umuntu uyaxela. Xa umuntu engenandawo oxela usengxakini. That's one thing you look for. So this has to do with their upbringing, their family. It has to do with their spiritual life and all those things because it's a key. It's very important. The second thing is when you look for a person, for those girls that want to be married, when you look for a person, Azaran, please hear this from a pure heart. Ubuhle is not a problem. That thing we can sort out. We live in a time, if you have no eyebrows, we can sort you out. If you have no hair, we can sort you out. We can sort that thing out. Now, and did you choose a but I want you to understand my heart. There are things we have no control over. It's me, I'm not control. Long to wapos abazali bakhe, wapos umakhulu, ezama umakhulu. Wazama umzali. Bazame otishare krish, bazame primary, bazame high school. When I uthi I will change you, you're wasting your time. Who do you think you are? Abazali bakhe bamthandazela kajika. When you feel that miraculously you can transform this person. I'm telling you now, you don't have an ability to change a person's character. As our red lights, don't discredit them. They are valid. Now we say this thing. I'm serious. I'm very serious. I'm very serious. Listen to them when they talk about stuff. You know, having to return imali yabantu. You are in trouble. You are in trouble. He calls young and you ask Deb, you are in trouble. You cannot change that person's behavior. They are already set, they are already formed, they are adults. You can't change them. You are not a fourth member of the Trinity. You can't change them. So it's important for you to look for character. Simple things like generosity. I'm serious. Generosity. Remember, what fulfills you into a puma, into a genai. So it's very important. You have to look for character. Things like generosity, kindness. Umntu nje kind. Oh, by the way, ladies, do you know what? This is a clue for gents now. Do you know what ladies are attracted to? The kindness. Watch all movies. Spider-Man, a classical example. This guy baya ku excursion, baya hamba, and then there's this guy eyibhuli. Ifike indlala thekisela umntana, and this guy inxibe glasses. He's on tetelela. Ipushwe yowapha eceleni. Iziqothole. He's a lady. Limphakamise, and she's so in love with him. Why? He has defended me. Ubethiwe lo. But the fact that you stood for me. Ladies are looking for a kind person. I will break it down some other day because it's bigger than this word, but I'm using it. They are looking. You see, the biggest problem in lady is security. Even when they are 99, utata una 100, the lady deep down una 20. This guy can cheat on me. Una 100, utata una 99, mama. But una nje into 80. Anganishiya lo. That's why the most time ladies need assurance. The most time. Why should I say I love you? I would not have married you if I didn't love you. No. I don't know. I want you to assure me all the time. Again and again. So the biggest problem in lady is security. All ladies, rich, poor, big, small, all ladies have a security problem. We are secured. That's a clue, gents. That's why ladies would go for any man that says the right things. Look at this logic. But because there's a sense this guy umtu aze neclorets. Man, I just thought about you. Oh yeah, thank you. I think I explain why. It's the thought that counts. You want rand. Do you know what I'm saying? Because deep down, all they want to know is, would you choose me again? I'm helping those that want to be married. Ladies, men are looking for one thing, only one. Men are looking for respect. Because deep down, men have ego. That's why a man will live a triple-story house in the most expensive suburb, Ayoshala, with shack for only one thing. I don't feel respected. I'm not talking about you being subservient. I'm talking about honoring this person. Because in every man there are two people. There's a king and there's a fool. And if you speak to the fool will manifest. If you speak to the king will manifest. So if you treat this guy with honor, I'm not talking about, walking on your knees, but I'm talking about being respectful. Because deep down, that's why if men are going to fight, there's only one reason. Because all men have only one problem, ego. And once you bruise that thing, you have killed a man. So to defend himself, he will run away from any space where his ego is bruised. Those are the big things. I know they sound simplistic now, and I don't have time to break them down into pieces. We will, but those are the two things. Women, security, men, ego. If you sort those things out, the foundation will be laid. Thank you. I have to stop at some point.